In the last class, we are looking at what is servlet and why we use servlets. We understood a lot of concepts. We started off with the difference between static and dynamic websites, and then we went on and understood what is request response programming model. We looked at HTTP methods, HTTP request and response. We also looked at the servlet class, HTTP servlet class, and we looked at the call hierarchy and some of the methods in the HTTP servlet class. And we were talking about building a dynamic website. Say when you're building a dynamic website, whether it is static or dynamic, you need HTML. So we're going to use HTML along with servlets and JSP to build dynamic web applications. So for that, we have to first understand what is HTML and how to use some of the HTML tags. So our focus is not learning HTML as such here. Due to time limitations, we'll be focusing on some of the basic concepts in HTML, and I'll be going through some of the basic tags. Most of you might have learned HTML in your other courses, but still for newcomers, HTML is necessary for understanding or creating dynamic websites using servlets and JSP. So we'll run through some of the basic tags like hyperlink, table, and the HTML form is the main focus. How to create a form that will accept text, password, radio options or checkboxes, email, date, select and submit and reset buttons, and how to also include an image in our HTML web page. So our focus is not styling the web page using cascading style sheets. So if you really wanted a beautiful looking, pretty looking website, you have to learn cascading style sheets and the frameworks corresponding to CSS. But we are not focusing on CSS here. We are going to work with plain simple HTML forms, and we're going to build dynamic web applications using servlets. So let's start understanding basic HTML tags. So for this, I'm going to use Eclipse that I've installed. This is Eclipse W version for developers, and the version here is 2018-09. It's an older version. I'm using that because I'm using JDK 8. The newer versions require a JDK 11 or greater. So I'm just sticking on to my older version here. Let's create an HTML project. Let's learn how to use HTML tags using an HTML project. Let's go and create an HTML project. So new, and then you can create. We'll have this dynamic web project. We'll create a dynamic web project and then we'll add an HTML file, no problem. So this is like say I'll say first HTML project, something like that. Next, and then we'll give next. This is not needed for now, but still we'll make it as an habit, because going forward with servlets we have to generate web.xml. So we'll click on finish. So to learn HTML, you can use even Notepad or Notepad++, any tool there. But since we are going to code with servlets and JSP, and we are going to use Eclipse, I'm just going ahead and showing you the demo of HTML using Eclipse. So it takes some time to create the project. So our project is created, and next what we have to do is we can go and add an HTML file to our project. Let's right click on our first HTML project, and then you can go to a new HTML file. We're just going with a pure HTML file here, and I can give like first HTML or welcome HTML, some basic commands, welcome HTML here, .html. So that's the file extension. So click on next, and then we are selecting the version of HTML. Obviously we'll use HTML5, and then finish. So this is the basic code that's auto generated for you using this editor. So this says it's HTML5, and all the HTML code is enclosed within tags. Say this is the starting tag and the corresponding ending tag. Whatever you put inside the head, mostly it will be the title that will be displayed on the top, and then any files like JavaScript files or any style sheets that you're going to reference will be in the head, and also the character set, that's with pure encoding of the characters data here. That's not a problem, we'll leave it like that. Title, maybe we can give practicing HTML. So that will be the title, and whatever we put inside the body tag, the open and close of the body tags will be visible on the web page for the user. So we'll start off with a very basic tag. Say we'll put a heading here, h1, say welcome to my home page, and we can save this and we can run this. So for this, it will be asking us Tomcat server. Server is not needed here, but still we'll make it a practice because we'll be using servlets and then we have to use the server. So I'll always use this for running my project. So in the last class, we have seen how to configure servers and all these things. If you're not clear with it, refer to our last class lecture. So it will be starting a server, Tomcat 9.0.39. That's what I have installed. Actually speaking, to run an HTML file, you don't need a server, but okay, so our file is now visible on this browser here. So this is our file. So whatever I'm putting inside my body tag will be within this area here. So it will be on the main view of the browser. Okay, now let us start understanding these tags one by one. Let's start with hyperlink, then go to table, and then we'll understand how to create an HTML form. Even before looking into these things, let us take a look at a live application, a real application. For this, I have selected an online employment registration web application of Tamil Nadu government. Let's click on this. Let's see what a web application contains. We all are used to using web applications, but still, let us take a look at a live web application hosted on a server now. So what a web application contains mostly forms, hyperlinks, and information, text information. So you see here there is an user ID and password. Password will be concealed from the user, normal things. And then we have hyperlinks. So for new user ID registration, click here. So this is an hyperlink. When I click, it takes me to another page, another web page. So we are now in the form. This is an HTML form. You can see it's an HTML page. And what we have in an HTML form is we have labels. See, these are labels that give some instructions to the users. And we have different kinds of input the user can enter. Text input, you can select a drop down, and you can enter his email. So email is an input that he enters, and password, which will be concealed from others, and again a selection. So all these kinds of things are there. And we'll have an image, and we also have a date picker here, so you can select some dates, date of birth, and things like that. And we have buttons that will initiate the submission of this data to the server. So save, reset will clear all the data from the form, exit will exit from the main form. So these kinds of things we have, and also we have images on the slide, right? We have some images, logos, and things like that. Some footer information on the contact, disclaimer, and then a copyright information. So all these things are part of any web page. And a dynamic web application, you really have a form, and users will be submitting data, viewing data from the server. So our focus is how to create an HTML form that will contain all these kinds of inputs plus more additional inputs like a radio option or a checkbox and all these things. Let's start working on this. Let's go to our Eclipse. Let's start looking at how to create an hyperlink. So for this, we have to use this tag. We have to say a, and then we have to give the link to that page, href. So let me give, maybe I'll give the link to my website. That is, let me go to this site. This is the link to my website here. Let me give the link to my YouTube channel. That's not my website, it's a link to my channel. So I'll say link to my YouTube channel. So that's how you define an hyperlink. Let's save this, and then let's go and refresh this page. So link to my YouTube channel. Say I'll just show this demo using Google Chrome. Say any browser we can use. If you go and give that URL here, so link to my YouTube channel. When someone clicks on this, he'll be diverted to my YouTube channel. So that is an hyperlink wherein you can link multiple pages together. a very common thing. But how you create an hyperlink is you give starting tag a href, and then you give the link for your page or your website, and then this will be displayed to the user and a closing tag. So that's how you create an hyperlink. The next interesting thing is table, very widely used. We'll see how to create a table. So what is a table? So this is a table. How to input information in rows and columns. Let's see how to create a table in HTML. Let's remove this. So how to create a table? For that we have to put everything inside the table tag. So that defines that's a table. And table will have rows. A row is defined by giving tr. So this is a row, and we have to close the row. So this is one row, and a row will contain columns. So there will be this td which says this is a column. So we have to open and close for every column. Okay, so this is one column, say name. Just create a simple table here. Likewise, we can have another column td, and then we have to close. Say everything should be enclosed within the correct tag. So this is say password. We cannot display password. We'll say country. Some information we'll give. Likewise, you can have any number of columns. For every column, you enclose that in a td tag. So that's, say, we can say address, and then we can have one more column wherein we can say phone number. So that is the first row in the table. If we want another row, what we have to do, just copy, and this row will contain the actual data. Say Satish is the name, and country is India. Address, we can give that as Chennai, and phone number, some phone number, will give some imaginary number here. So that's a table. Let's see, let's visualize this table. Yeah, so you're able to see information as a table. If we want a border, normally we'll style tables using style sheets, but still we can just, for our example, let's give border is equal to 1. Let's check whether we are able to get this border. Yeah, so we are able to see some borders here, and name, country, address, phone number. I don't know whether we have to give this in quotes. I normally don't style things using HTML. It's going to be style sheets, but yeah, not a problem. It doesn't make a difference, I guess. Okay, so you're able to see some border here, and that's how you can specify a border. Say this first row is the header, right? For that, what we can do is we can give everything as th instead of td. First row we can give it as th. So what it makes is it makes the first row to be visible to the user in some bold letters. We'll see the difference now. So it's th and th. Let's save this. Let's check it out. Yeah, see, now that's the header row, and this is the data. So what is the problem here is we have to close all these tags. That's why our table was not really very clear. Maybe some copy paste issues. Say this issue is mainly because of the copy paste. We have to close the th tag. We have to check whether the tags are closed properly, or else we are going to get some display issues. So this is the closing tag, and likewise this is a closing tag. Copy paste issues, nothing else. And this is a closing tag for td. Yeah, now let's save this and run. Now the table is fine. So I was just confused about that, why it was not showing us, displaying it the right way. Now it's fine. So that's how you create a table. I hope now that you have understood how to create a table. The next thing is what is next in our list, that is creating an HTML form. So you should never have a doubt on how to create a table. We enclose everything within the table tags, and for each row it's tr, and within each row for the column we'll use td, and then we'll close the tag. So that should be the case with respect to creating a table. Now let's take a look at how to create a form. Very important. Say user enters data through a form. Whatever you're seeing here is a form. How to create this HTML form? For that we have to enclose everything inside a form tag. Start and close that. And in the form, the very first thing is you'll have labels, name, gender, email, something like that. So let me show you how to create a label. It's label for, we'll give a name for the label, that is input name label, and the text, enter your name. So that's the label, and we'll get the input. So whatever input you're getting will be used, we'll be using the tag input tag. Input type is equal to, now if I'm going to get a text field, the type will be text. You can even select it from the options given here. Input type is equal to text, and we'll give a name field for our text, that is we'll say username. See, this is important. For every tag we have to give a name also. So for input type is equal to text, the name is username. We'll be using this later on. And normally they'll also have an ID field. If you're going to work with JavaScript validation, you're going to access that within the CSS. So we also have a ID. Say we'll also say ID is username, unique identification. Within JavaScript, we'll use the ID, get element by ID. For those who know JavaScript, you'll understand why I'm using ID here. So input type is equal to text, name is username, and a line break can be given as a BR. So let's see how our form looks like now. Yeah, enter your name and things like that. And after he enters his name, let's say he's entering his password. For that we'll have input type is equal to password. So when you give password, it will be hidden. So name for this is user pass, something like that we'll give. If you want to give an ID, you can give. Since we are focused only on HTML here, I'll skip this ID field now. So input type is pass, save it, check it out how it looks like. So it'll be like this because we didn't give a label here. So for that we have to go and specify a label. For is equal to, say it's input password, that's the name, and then we can say enter your password. Let's give this in caps. So password will be entered. Now let's see how it's visible to the user. See, now it's pretty, right? Enter your name, enter your password. Likewise, you can get any kinds of inputs. Let's see how to get the gender as a radio option. So here is the command line in HTML. We are going to get it's a command line, get gender in radio. So we'll use a radio button here. For that we have to first give a label. The label for, what label is this? Is gender selection, something like that, and then select your gender. And I'll also give a break statement, so this information comes in a new line. And we have to show multiple radio buttons or radio options to the user. For this, input type is equal to, now you have to select radio, so it's radio. And then here comes the important thing, we have to give a name for this, that is gender, and then value. So this value will be going to the server upon submission of the form. Say the user selects this value, say value is male. If the user selects male, then value sent to the server will be male, and we have to display that option to the user, male and then PR. So male will be displayed along with the radio button. If he selects male, then value male will be going to the user, to the server. So like that we can have multiple options. So we can, input type is equal to radio. One important thing is the name should be the same for all the options. Name should be the same for all your radio options, don't forget that. And the value will be different. Now it's female, and what is displayed to the user is female. This will be displayed when it clicks female. Actually, it should be when she clicks female. Female will be submitted to the server. So male and female we have done. Let's see how this looks. Let's check it out. Obviously some issues we'll have, so we need some break statements. Select your gender break, male break. So let's give some break for better visibility. And yeah, now it should be fine. Let's check it out. Yeah, select your gender, so you can select any one of the options. So we have seen how to select gender. Next is we'll see how to use a checkbox, that is using a checkbox in HTML. So how will you use the checkboxes? For that you need to use input first label. First a label for, so it's a select subjects, favorite subjects you'll select. So select your favorite subjects. Let me just give it in caps here. Select your favorite subjects, and then we'll have a break so that the options are displayed in the next line. And what we'll do here is we'll get the input here. Input type is equal to, now comes the type, that is checkbox. And another important thing is name should be different for each option you're showing to the user. Say first I'm going to show English, so I'll call this element by name English, and then value will be English. So this will be submitted to the server when the user selects this option, and what will be displayed on the screen is English. Then we'll have a break. So first option that's getting displayed, and we'll have some 3 subjects from which he'll select all his favorite subjects. So here we have to be very careful. For a checkbox, everything should have a different name. Next thing, say DBMS is the subject. What value will be going to the server when he clicks this DBMS? Value is also important. What is getting displayed? Say I'll say database management systems. Okay. Likewise, the third subject can be physics. Let's say physics, and then value. Don't forget to change the value, because this goes to the server on submission of the form, and what is getting displayed is physics. Okay, so we are done with the checkbox. Let's see whether it's fine on our form. Yes, you can select some subjects. So you can use any browser here. You can just go and check it on your Chrome browser too. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so we'll come back to Eclipse. Where is our Eclipse? Yeah, so our checkbox option is also done. Next thing is you can enter an email. We also have let's say label. We should never forget that label for, I'll say enter email, some label I'm giving. So enter your email, and here the input, say these things are supported in HTML5 only. So input type, and we can select email. It does some validation. Say when you just enter Satish for email, it will just check whether it is Satish at some domain.com. So that kind of validation happens when you use input type is equal to email, but supported only in HTML5. So, and name, I'll say user email. That's it. So that's our email, and we should have a break after this. We also have this date picker, right? We'll see this date picker again. A label should be there. Label for is equal to, we'll say date of birth, some label will give, and select your date of birth. So that's what we are going to give, and we'll have this input type here. Input type again, this is supported in HTML5. Date, color, and number, all these things. Some of the things are supported only in HTML5. Since we are using HTML5, we'll be able to use all these things. So it's nothing but date. Input type is equal to date, We can also give some name for this, say DOP, and then we can have a break so that the next element is displayed on a new line. Let's refresh this. See again, certain objects will be visible only on certain browsers. So browser compatibility also is very important. For instance, which browser versions will support date object? You have to first verify that. Say I'm using Chrome now, you can see the date object now. Maybe if you're using some older version of the browser, it may not be visible to you. It's not visible to me on my Eclipse. It's not visible. The date object is not visible. So browser compatibility is also important. So here you can see there's a date object that's working perfectly fine, and email, date, everything is fine. Next thing is we'll see how to use a drop down or a select in HTML. So use of select in HTML. For this we have to put everything inside the select tag. Let me just go to the top now. So this is a combo box kind of thing that we have seen in JavaFX. So drop down box. So drop down box should contain some options. So what all options here is going to have? For every option you give option, and then you give the name for this. Say if I'm going to give India to be the first option, and the value, say if the user selects this option, what value goes to the server will be India, and what is getting displayed to the user, first option is India. I'm sorry, it's India. And then we need to close this option tag. Very important. This is for the first option. Likewise, let's say we have three countries as an option here. Name will be US, and value will be US. What will be displayed to the user will be US. Likewise, the next thing, name will be UK. This is the next country, and value will be UK, and yeah, whatever that is displayed will be UK. So never forget to give value here. Again, for your subjects also, never forget to give value. Wherever the user is just selecting something, you have to give the value that will be submitted to the server when the user selects that. So our select option is ready. Let's refresh this page. Let's see. So here what we have forgotten is the label. So let's give this label for I'll say country, and then select your country. Say without this label, user doesn't know what he has to do. Select your country, and no need to have a break here. Let's see how it looks now. Yeah, select your country, India, US, UK. So India is shown here by default. Say by default, if you want US to be selected, then what we can do is after this value is equal to US, we can give selected. So by default, US will be selected and shown to the user. Say if I refresh this and the page loads, US will be selected. You see? So that's the use of selected, and we have a lot of variations to all these things. I'm not looking at all the variations and things like that. Just plain important basic HTML we are learning. So that is there. Now let's come to the interesting part. Say a form should always have a submit button. Let's use a submit button. So we'll say input type is equal to, and then I don't know why there is no is equal to, then we'll give submit. So submit is a button, and here we'll give name to be submit, and we should also have value should be submit. Okay, so we are done with the submit. Let's refresh this and check. So after our select operation, we can give a break so that submit is in a new line. Let's check. Yeah, submit now. So when I submit, the data will be submitted to the server. That is the key here. And we can also have other buttons like input type is equal to reset. So this is resetting the information entered in the form, and name is equal to reset, and no need to give name and things like that. This has got nothing to do with server. It's just a client side execution. So let's see how our form looks like now. So this is reset. Say if I enter something and I click on reset, it clears that information. So that is the use of reset. But submit, it needs this value so that will be submitted to the server. So our form is almost ready, right? We know how to have a drop down, how to use checkboxes, how to use radio, how to use a password field, and mostly a form will contain these basic elements. We know that. And in our website we also know that there are some images here and there. I'll just tell you how to add an image. An image will be styled using style sheets. Decorating your sites, use style sheets please, and don't ever do that with HTML. You have separate style sheets and you reference that in your HTML in the header section, and then you call that modularize everything. So now let me add an image. For that, let me go to this particular image, a database image I have. I want to add that to my file. For that, what I will do is I will say you can very well import that image. You can give the path, but I want that image to be added to my project folder here. For that, what I'm going to do is just drag that image and place it here. Say this image, I'll just drag it to my project folder and leave it out. It says copy files. Okay, so now my database.jpj is in my folder. So why I am doing that is when I use this, say I want to include this image after this button, so I have to use this tag image, and then I have to give the source. When I give the source, I have to give the path where my image is. If it's in my project folder, no need to worry about the path. Just give the name jpg. Oh god, jpg. And you can also specify some width and height. I'm not doing any kind of styling here, just the image. Let's see whether it is visible on our browser. Let's see. Yes, so we can include this image, but how you position this, where you want this, what's the size, everything, we'll use style sheets. So we are ready. We now know how to create some basic forms using HTML. And one more thing that we have to always include is we have to include the form method, whether it's going to be post or get. Here we are submitting password and critical data, so method is post. So this will actually, on submission, the form will use a post request. So it's like HTTP post request will be sent to our server. And in the servlet side, an do post method will be activated through the service method. If you didn't understand what I said just now, don't worry. When we start coding a basic servlet, we'll understand. So method will give, and yeah, we are almost done. Anything else we have to learn? We have seen submit, select, date, email, checkbox, radio, password, text, form. Everything is done. Now what I want you to do is code this up, create this basic form, because we'll be using this in our servlet and JSP projects too.